Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna talk about it today, right? So today we're gonna be talking about the weird controversy behind the TMNT Mutant Mayhem April O'Neil action figure, and of course the whole sort of like whitewashing sort of thing that's kind of going on. So before I move on, obviously I need to give you guys some context. So these are of course action figures based off of the new movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It's been out in theaters for a while now. Unfortunately, I still haven't been able to see it, but life stuff happens. Sometimes you can't really sit down and watch a movie even if you really wanted to. But that's not the point. I'll just leave it at that. And for starters, especially with like these toys too, they're definitely like honestly like some of the best Team NT figures you could possibly think of. It's like wow. And it's like a nice, great comeback for Playmates toys too, because they were always the one making the Ninja Turtle toys based off of these different incarnations and all that. And yeah, you got all these other companies that kind of hop on, like NECA Toys and all that. Super 7, I could keep going on, but I really want to just talk specifically about like this particular set of figures. Because long story short, this new April, if you want to get her, she's some for some reason she's only exclusive towards this pack. You can't really buy her by itself. I would assume that she would get like a single release maybe somewhere in the future. Because long story short, this toy line's not done yet. There's still another wave that's meant to come out, but obviously there's no real word as to when it's gonna come out. So we just have to kind of wait and see. So to get this figure, she's actually part of a six pack. She's come this six pack in particular comes with the four turtles, April herself, and then of course Bebop, but he's covered in like ooze and all these kind of like splashes and all that. And it's a Target exclusive that could go for $54.99. So for six figures, surprisingly not a bad price. I mean, it's like if you were to buy each figure separately, you would pretty much be paying $10 for each one. So okay, that's actually a pretty decent deal. The only bad thing, obviously, is that if you already bought all the Ninja Turtles, I mean, yeah, you basically be buying the same figures twice, unless you're one of those masochists like me that kind of like stuff like that. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna get too much into that. At least the Bebop figure is somewhat exclusive because of the slightly different paint job. But of course, you have April O'Neil, which is a whole entirely different situation. Which I mean, I'm not really sure where to really start with it. And before I move on to, I did briefly mention that I wanted to talk about this on one of my toy hunts, but I was not, I wouldn't really say I was in a rush, but obviously because the topic is somewhat sensitive, I didn't really want to say it out loud where there would be a bunch of people surrounding me because you guys know how I am when it comes to me in crowded places. I want to do my toy hunts, but I always do them so sloppy, only because obviously I don't want to like film people on camera, and then where I live, it's not great, the moment someone probably sees a camera. I don't want them to come up to me and cause problems. I don't want to do that. All right, I'm a chill dude. Okay, calm down. Except for the people complaining about this figure, right? So what happened? What's the deal? Why did you say the whole whitewashing thing? Because that's kind of what's been going on. When this six pack first got released, now look, I'm just gonna be blunt, okay? Listen, I think we're all adults here. I hope, all right. And obviously, whether you like this change or not, let's try to kind of keep this, to ourselves, in a way. I'll give my opinions on it and all, but still. So I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna kind of cut right to the chase, right? So obviously, this new version of April is, a black woman, and of course, the internet being the internet, they find that a problem, because she's always been known to be a white or a redhead, and it's like, yeah, fine, whatever. We could complain about that and all that. But the thing is, though, with the character of April specifically, she's the type of character that has definitely gone through some changes throughout the years. So I don't think it really matters at this point as to what skin color it is. And it doesn't really affect her character as a whole. She's still pretty much the same that we always know her as. Whether it's the news reporter, the journalist, the woman working with Baxter Stockman, a teenager, whatever, Not to mention that even the last incarnation, she was a black teenager. So I'm like, come on, people. It's like, and of course, I wouldn't be bringing this up if it wasn't for these ridiculous anti SGW YouTube channels, which honestly, like, that these people are living like in the past, honestly, because these are the type of people that will like try to find something wrong with a certain franchise and try to paint it as like this sort of like political or kind of woke ordeal, and it's like, okay, this needs to stop. Come on now. And this is Ninja Turtles. I mean, what else can you really do with it? For the most part, I haven't really heard any kind of weird stuff kind of going on. I don't think so. I don't know. So to me, the whole argument over skin color is ridiculous. I don't care that I don't understand. Uh, but maybe somebody at the factory making these toys Well, I don't know if you guys heard, but when the six pack first got released, obviously, her skin color, she was dark. Right. Okay, fine. Now all of a sudden there's re-releases of this six pack, and people have started to notice, and yes, even I've noticed it too for sure. Skin color is very different. It's actually very, very on the lighter side, and I was like, huh, that is pretty weird, huh? You know what I mean? It's like, whoa. That honestly, I thought for sure that was definitely strange. But I'm like, why would they do that? Because they basically re-released it, and it's like, so her skin color is different. Now it's more lighter, and I was like, huh. I wonder what's the deal with that. And honestly, I remember, I first heard about it on, online. There was people kind of going crazy over, it. And then of course, same people like I've mentioned before. These channels that love to find the worst in every great franchise for some reason. I mean, I'm pretty sure like with like I'll give like a crazy example. I don't know, Spider-Man No Way Home. It's a great film, but you know that there's gonna be like these people out there that's gonna find some sort of like weird excuse talking about how that it's going for some sort of agenda or some sort of like political thing or like a feminist thing, whatever. Because look, stuff like that does happen in our entertainment, and it is unfortunate, but it doesn't happen with every single franchise like that. Come on now. At this point, these people are just kind of making up bullshit. And honestly, this video, I wasn't even going to talk about the controversy. I wanted to talk about something completely different as to how these exact same people are basically bashing the Ninja Turtles because some of their decisions and all that. So I'm like, okay, we need to calm down now. But what I really want to talk about is why would they kind of do that weird thing with April too? Because it's like, I think to me personally, if I'm being honest with you, and maybe this is just me, I don't know. To me, I think the figure's okay. I think if you compare how she looked with like the artwork and stuff like that, and like her concepts, I'm assuming what they're trying to do is maybe make it maybe a little bit more film accurate to a certain degree. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I kind of think, because I still kind of see her for what it is. I don't really see her as like a completely white woman and all that, because that's what a lot of people are kind of jumping to that conclusion, and it's like, can we like look through it first before we sort of assume that this is like some sort of whitewashing thing? And I probably should have mentioned this before too. If you don't know what whitewashing is, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get the term wrong either. I don't want to get attacked online. Basically, you take like a character that's supposed to be like of some other race, and then you just turn them white. Basically, that's pretty much what it is. So if you have like for an example, like a historical character and all that, if they're supposed to be like of a certain race, whether it be black, Asian, whatever, stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there's an adaptation, and then they made them white. There you go. That's somewhat of an example of it. I mean, there's plenty of different ones out there, but I really don't want to get into that because, look, I like to talk about, toys and action figures. I like to talk about stuff that I like. I don't really like to get into conversations like this because not only are they very tricky, especially if you don't word it properly, but like it's also another easy way to kind of get attacked online, and I really don't want that. But this situation is pretty weird. Now don't get me wrong, this is not the first time that Playmates toys have actually done stuff like this. This is actually a kind of a common practice for them. And definitely throughout the history of the Ninja Turtles for sure, even from the very beginning, they've been known for doing a lot of very weird like re-releases like this. And of course, they're not meant to be like some sort of variant. It just so happens that the paint is different. So there's a lot of examples I can use. I'm gonna give you some examples right now. The 2012 Nickelodeon TMNT series, they had a villain named the Cockroach Terminator. Remember that? Remember that weird one? So basically, it's a cockroach that got combined with mutagen ooze and some bionic parts, and then obviously it's meant to kind of make fun of of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. So you get the idea. And Cockroach Terminator, I remember when the toy was first released. I mean, it looked cool, but the paint job was like very basic. But you could pretty much tell like what it was supposed to be. But eventually, Playmates actually did re-release the figure. I think when the series was at like its third season or so, they actually re-released the figure, and the paint job was not only more cartoon accurate, but it was like fantastic. Like it was all gloss, like a darker paint, and it was like, wow. It's almost like somebody gave a crap on this figure. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow. But it's not meant to be like a variant. It just so happens that the paint job was different because it's still like a basic figure. It's not like when they re-released their basic Ninja Turtles figures and then they kind of did like some different paints around it. I'm trying to think what they were called. They call them like Redeco or something like that. No, those are meant to be variants. But this Cockroach Terminator situation, no, that was just something they did on the fly. That was just something that they just wanted to kind of paint to look cooler for whatever reason. Even the original Ninja Turtles toy line did something very similar. Mondo Gecko. When the figure was first released, apparently there actually was some parts that were not painted, some parts that weren't, he had like a tiny little roller skate attached to his tail. I remember that wasn't painted at all, and that just looked really weird, like some weird kind of flesh thing going on, you know. And eventually they actually did re-release the figure somewhere in the 90s or so, and the figure actually did ended up having a lot more paint. What's funny is that I actually own that version, but I don't have the OG version, if that makes sense. They're both the originals, but the paint jobs are different. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's just like a weird kind of redeco scenario, but they just kind of like did it without really saying anything. So it's like, ooh, I'm gonna buy this new figure, but it's like, even though I already have it, it's painted slightly differently, you know? I mean, listen, we're all guilty of this too. Even the current classics toy line, where they basically re-release their old 80s figures, even those have slightly different paint jobs. Definitely the biggest one for sure. Leonardo, for some odd reason, he doesn't fit too much into this. He still looks slightly like his original paint job back in the 80s. But if you look at the other three turtles, like Raphael, Mikey, and even Donnie, the re-releases of those figures, Raphael definitely has like a sort of a slightly like light tinted green. Michelangelo, he already has like the dark green, but this time they kind of re-release it to like a slightly bright green. Honestly, it's hard to really explain it without showing to you, so I'll be right back. I'm actually gonna get my figures off the shelf, so let me pause this for a second. All right, yeah, so I'm back. So here's my examples, right? So I got the figures right here. So you see this version of Raphael right here, so it's supposed to be based off of the 80s version, but this is the re-release from 2013. But obviously, if you get the current ones that are coming out this year, it's pretty much the exact same paint job. It's the sculpting and everything is supposed to be based off of the original 1980s version. But what's funny is that so I'm gonna use this example. This is just an example. This is the head drop in Raphael. And as you can see, he's a much more darker green. I don't know if you guys can really tell that much, due to just my lighting and all that. I think that's kind of the best angle. You could kind of tell difference. He's much more of a darker green. Back in the day, if you bought the basic Raphael from the 1980s, the green is supposed to be this color, not this color. So you see what I mean with the whole paint differences and all that? And of course, Michelangelo is another one. I got like the re-release version. This one also came out in 2013. And then of course, I also got the wacky action, the Michelangelo. Same exact thing. The original 80s version is supposed to have a more darker color of green, while this one actually has the darker color green. So you see, that's kind of where I'm kind of getting at. So I'm just going to assume that that's probably what happened with this new April figure, where, it just so happens that she looks a little bit more like on the whiter kind of side, even though she's supposed to be on the more darker side. But then obviously, you get people that kind of take this way out of context. And for all I know, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my brain is that innocent where, okay, maybe the company is doing weird funny stuff like that where they are making her on the lighter side for some reason, because she's always been known for being white, which makes no sense because Rise of TMNT literally had a Black April. So I'm confused, and also let me see, I don't know, I just heard some stuff, I'm sorry. That's my point. Do I really need to keep going? I don't know. Sorry, I heard some noises, so I thought, okay, whatever. Anyway, honestly, to tell you guys the truth, I was watching some, like, scary, like, creepypasta video, so I'm kind of, like, all over the place hearing noises, so I'm like, I hope they're not real after I watch those videos, right? So, yeah, like I say, I don't think I need to keep going with this. I think this whole situation is it's kind of dumb, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe there's a bit more to it than we maybe we don't know about. It's hard to really say. And obviously, I mentioned the anti SJW YouTube channels because those people love to exaggerate things to such an extent. Because these are people that talk about like, sorry about that. These are people that will, like I say, they kind of take stuff and they'll throw it like way out of context and they'll just pretty much jump right to the point really quick where there's some like sort of woke agenda kind of going on and they try to do it just to kind of be PC and all that. And I'm like, Like, shut up. Like, come on now. Listen, at some point, these people were probably right about some things in the past, but now, I don't know. They're kind of a joke nowadays. I'm just going to say it. And the thing is, it doesn't get any better. Now, I'm not going to mention these channels, obviously, but I know that there was one in particular that was kind of happy that the movies is not doing well and the toys are not selling well. They're already going on sale. It's a huge flop because of their agenda. And I'm like, that's obviously being taken way out of context. That's obviously not what's happening at all. Also, the movie did fine. There's even talks of a sequel and everything, and the toys actually they sold very well too. So, I don't know. Maybe again, I'm not trying to say I'm right or anything, but I think this is just everything being taken out of context. So, uh, yeah, I don't know what else to say. What do you guys think? Are you concerned? Do you think the situation's stupid like I think it is? Do I need to make a part two of this if things go a little bit crazy? Because originally I was going to make a completely different video, not talking about the controversy, but talking about how people were like, uh, you know, going a bit overboard, with like some of the decisions made in the movies and all that, and how oh, apparently the toys and it's not selling well, whatever. And I'm like, come on now. So yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys for kind of joining in. I was very tempted to making this video, but I figured no. I mean, I still think it's really stupid. Unfortunately, I don't own the six pack. I would like to buy it, but I need to prioritize. It's either that or the new Marvel Legends, okay, or the GI Joes. I can only do one or the other. I can't really do exactly both. I know that from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true. The making of a Ninjas 3 pack, now they're gonna release the Michelangelo and Donatello one, so hopefully that's true. I would like to get those two. So until then, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.